that would be helpful. Hello, church family. It's another Wednesday night here at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. It's Wednesday night, November 30th. It's the last Wednesday night on the last day of the almost last month. So I welcome everyone to our midweek Oasis service. So what is the Wednesday night service? Why do we call it Oasis? And that is because it's a place where we can be together as a community to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays. We present our Wednesday night services in our version of satsang style, with the intention that these gatherings be informal, intimate, and rich. So we have an annual theme here at the Oakland Center from our headquarters, and our annual theme is Wonder, Wonder Everywhere. And our monthly theme this month is Home. So in November, we have been exploring the everyday wonder of our most familiar place, home, on Wednesday nights. We have used the hero's journey as the arc of our narratives each week this month. It is potentially everyone's journey of discovery, self-mastery, and transformation. The truth of the hero's journey is that our ultimate destination is a return to the truth of who we are, spiritual beings having a human experience. When we live from that truth, we can be at home wherever we go, and it empowers others to do the same for themselves. Also, in alignment with our November theme of home, we are celebrating American Indian Heritage Month. So we celebrate that, we celebrate our journeys. I'm on my own. Here comes the slide, there it comes, recognizing our American Indian Heritage Month.
And there's the land trust.
And so I am also on my little bit of a hero's journey. I've announced that tonight is my last Wednesday night. I've done this for several years. Reverend Jeff asked me to take this on, and I did it. And I looked every week for a replacement and nobody showed up. So here I am several years later. And as most of you all know already, that and for the folks that'll be watching this on the recording, I got a home situation I need to manage and a personal physical situation I need to manage. So it's time for me to step back from all of my leadership roles at church. I'll still be a member, I'll still tithe. I hope you'll still be a member and you'll still tithe. But I have to take care of some business, and it's so appropriate for this theme this month. So it is definitely a journey and a hero's one that I'm going to embark upon. So the good news out of all of this is that we have an outstanding replacement, someone that can really, really deliver both the administration and the support and the technical. And she is just terrific on presentation. She's got the whole package. I'm actually quite jealous. And that will be Reverend Sally Bartholomew will be at the helm starting next Wednesday night. So welcome aboard, Reverend Sally. I'm glad you're here, and I look forward to watching you. So with that in mind, if you're joining us for the first time, please visit our homepage a little bit more. You found us that way. Click around, see what we've got, check out our events page. And if you like what you see and you want to hear more about us on a weekly basis, you just need to go to the I'm New icon and look at the lower left-hand corner of that page to submit your email address to begin receiving the Village News newsletter. Excuse me, conveniently will be sent to your inbox every week in your email. Also, if you haven't done it already, we ask that you mute your camera and your microphone. That helps improve the quality of our transmission. And I have some additional special and important announcements towards the end of the program. So I ask that you please stay for them. So it's time for us to do what we do always when we gather at the Oakland Center for everything that we do here, and it's not eat. Okay, where two or more gathered at Oakland Center, we eat. But even before that, we pray. So we're going to start with an opening prayer. And Reverend Sally, if you would deliver that for us, I'd appreciate it.
I would be grateful to do that with everyone. So I invite us all to close our eyes, turn within, open our hearts and our minds to this very moment. As I invite us to breathe in and breathe out, we are recognizing that there is one life, one power, one presence, and that this one life is living itself in, through, and as everything. Every person, every place, every event, every animal, anything that you can name is God in that form. And how good it is to know this truth, that God is the love, the joy, the presence, the wonder, the home, and that we are each representations of it. We are the love, the peace, the joy, and the home. And so this evening, I am blessing this service, knowing that we are in for love, peace, joy, and presence. That as Christopher shares his knowledge and his wisdom, his love with us, we are uplifted, and that we are grateful for Paul, his love, his presence, his knowledge and wisdom. Knowing that this evening is fully blessed, I am grateful. Grateful to know this truth, grateful to release this word, grateful to let it be. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you so much, Reverend Sally. I really appreciate it. So as Reverend Sally mentioned in her prayer, we have a wonderful speaker. If it's fifth Wednesday of the month, it's Christopher Brown night. So Christopher will be here presenting to us tonight his topic, Focus on Gratitude. A little story about Christopher before I go. When I started doing this work with Reverend Jeff to do Wednesday night service, we didn't have a lot of speakers. And Reverend Jeff opened it up to the practitioner core. And I says, I'm going to talk to Christopher. I really like him to come forward. And Reverend Jeff always did the first Wednesday. It was kind of revolutionary at the time because it made him so approachable. And it was actually really cool that we could get up close and personal with our senior minister on Wednesday night when we were meeting in person. It was just a lovely exchange. And he came up with this whole format. And I said, well, I'm going to grab Christopher. So I approached Christopher and he said, absolutely. So it's almost fitting that on my last Wednesday night, the last speaker I get to bring to share their wisdom and knowledge with us is the wonderful practitioner, Christopher Brown. So, Mr. Brown, I'm so grateful for your support all these years on Wednesday nights. You'll go down in history as the fifth Wednesday night speaker forever, I think. And I'm just very grateful for your service to, I know you did it personally for me for a long time, so that we would have a well-rounded speaking cast. And there's no more well-rounded than you. So thank you so much, Mr. Brown. I turn it over to you. The floor is yours.
Wow. Thank you, Paul. A lot to say on this topic. So much to say. Let's start. I'm going to start with you because I want to kind of bring you into this. Fortune cookie I received 40, 50 years ago, and it said, "Uncherished gifts vanish. Uncherished gifts vanish." Well, now, when we cherish something, when we really behold something, when something is dear to us, can we really hold on to it, or is it best to appreciate it as it is, and for as long as it's going to be? Now, the problem is we can set our sights on appreciating somebody, like appreciating Paul, and for everything and for wherever he is in the sanctuary or on a Sunday, he's this blur of activity, anchoring the Wednesday night for probably close to 6 years now, like every Wednesday night. So how do we hold on to an appreciation? How do we hold on to our gratitude? Well, there was built a house across the street from us 30 years ago, and it was painted orange, very similar to what Paul is behind him, that color. And Susan, my wife, hated it. Horrible, awful. It ruins the whole neighborhood. Okay. I told her, sweetheart, in a year or two, you won't even notice it. In fact, you might even begin to like it. Unfortunately, this is what the brain does over time. Something that we dislike or something that we do like, we tend not to see because it becomes familiar. And that's the danger that we have in terms of our wiring. Our brain is set up to where we see the new, the fresh, rather than something that's very, very familiar. We don't give it a second thought because the brain sees it before we're even aware of it and goes, we've done that, got the t-shirt, don't need to look anymore. And so if that's the way we operate, and I'm sorry to say that is the way we operate, all of us to the degree, it's like, oh boy, how do we keep fresh before us our most tender or most profound moments, our spiritual moments? How do we keep fresh before us our love of family and friends? They become familiar. And if we don't continue kind of rebooting and refreshing, they go into the background because the mind is scanning for something new, constantly something new. And so we look around the sanctuary. Oh, there goes Paul. Paul, we need this. Paul, we need that. And we rely on Paul for everything. Paul has the answers. He's incredibly gifted in that way. But we tend not to really see Paul or the loved ones in our life because it's so familiar. In other words, we take them for granted. That's the way we're designed. And so it takes a little bit of effort to reboot, to bring us back fresh again. And that's the challenge. The challenge is to get into that place of gratitude, which I'm going to call prayer. I don't see any difference. When I drop in and I'm truly grateful for something, it's like, whoa, there's something about the heart that just opens up and just goes, wow. And I disappear and there's just what's happening in the moment. Now, we can be blown open by gratitude, especially easily in nature, because it's something about the freshness of nature. And we're out of our familiarity of our little homes, and we're out in nature like behind me. And I've walked that canyon, I've walked between those rocks. And it's a reminder for me of when you're out alone in nature, everything is fresh. Your whole senses are heightened. The mind is scanning for something new. Is there danger here? Is this safe? All of our senses are sort of set up. It's one of the reasons why we love to go on vacations, because when we're on vacation, we're fresher, we're more available. And so when we have these experiences out in nature and they really move us, something within us arises in that moment that goes, wow. And before we start thinking about it, that wow translates into a feeling. And that feeling is kind of the feeling of no longer being separated from what I'm looking at. I'm sort of immersed in the whole gestalt. There isn't a separate Christopher looking at this landscape. It's like the landscape and Christopher sort of merge together, and there's just this seeing happening. You've been with friends. You've had experiences where this yumminess happens, and that you're so grateful for these times of yumminess when we disappear and what's left are these sacred moments. And these sacred moments, unless they're cherished, unless they're, I don't want to say held on to, but acknowledged as sacred, when we do that, we build that muscle of gratitude. And that muscle of gratitude, when we start walking down the street with that muscle of gratitude, everybody looks because, you know, we have that aura. And it's an aura of kind of humble receptivity. And that's a whole nother, that's a bit that's really important, because when we're grateful, there's no arrogance in that. Because basically whatever was arrogant disappeared. Our problems disappear. We are in gratitude. And there's a power in that gratitude. The power is that our energy is freed up in those moments. We're no longer consumed by our problems. Our problems have disappeared. What's before us is the natural unfoldment of life as its very self. Alive, fresh as this moment, simply moving. And we're inseparable from that moment. And then, of course, the mind will start thinking again, and then we'll be lost in our mind because the mind's noisier than the quiet of the moment. And so, again, how do we keep fresh before us? How do we kind of reboot in a way? Reboot our awareness, what we're focused on in our awareness. I'm not particularly good at it. And I'm probably pretty good at it because I know I'm not very good at it. And I know that there could be so much more. Point is how often do we stop? Just stop and be in the moment. When I first came here to Oakland Center in foundations class, this was introduced. Joan used to ring the bell. And when Jerry remembers this, when she'd ring the bell, everyone was supposed to stop. We would just sort of listen and be awake. And several times in that 3 hours, she would ring that bell and we would all stop. And I love the idea of stopping and breaking the trance of activity in the moment to find out what was below the activity, what was below what I was focused on. And what was always below was this silence and peace. That should give us a clue. If we want to know about oneness, it's basically, how do we become present in the moment? Well, one of the things that prevents us is our thinking, probably the biggest reason. And our perpetual habit is to look for what is missing because, as Buddha would say, suffering is caused by our desire, the hungry ghost of desire. And that desire is for something more, that this moment is not enough. I want something better. Yes, this moment is pretty fantastic, but it would even be better if I had an ice cream right now, or if I had my favorite friend, or if I was in a jacuzzi, or if it goes on. I mean, we can say it's pretty good right now, but boy, I could always think of something that could make it better. This is the glass half empty. The glass half full, it's the same glass, it's the same moment. but this is the cherishing of the moment. How do I, it's like recognizing, wow, this is an amazing moment. And my beautiful friend Daryl brings this home. When he was shot in Vietnam, and it was a miracle upon miracles that he survived, absolute miracles. And like, that's a story in itself. And so after he was 19 and shot, every year after that, he considers these the bonus years, and he takes none of it for granted. He had his child, Daniel, on his lap, coming back from Santa Catalina. They're on the front of the boat, up by the bow. Daniel was asleep in his lap. He was about 7 years old at the time. The sun was setting, it was warm, the wind was blowing through his hair. And he looked out and he was struck by gratefulness of having to live this long and to be with Daniel for this many years. And he never would have known this amount of happiness had he not been in, had he died. And he was so grateful for just the ordinariness of this moment. This is when you find the extraordinary within the ordinary. And we're all capable of doing this. It's a matter of sinking deeper and deeper, kind of behind the eyes. So as we look, we're not looking with the mind, we're simply allowing everything to come in. We're receiving. And my suspicion is that Daryl on the front of that boat coming in, the stimulus and the sunset and the waves and all of that, and the beautiful day they had at the island, it all congealed into this arising of gratitude. And when we're struck by gratitude, we do not forget it. It was so many years later that he shared the story with me. And it's kept with me. It was that powerful. So we're going to have a little exercise. We're going to do some breakout rooms. We're going to get a chance to talk to a wonderful partner about times when you've received kindness. It's actually at times when you have dropped into gratitude or gratitude arose within you. Now that could have been caused by another person, their kindness. It could be caused by being in a beautiful landscape in nature somewhere. It could be as simple as gazing into your pet's eyes and having them lick your nose or smile or whatever that encounter might be. But you're thinking of a time when gratitude arose in you. It just, wow. This isn't necessarily for an object or anything. It's just for life showing up, and you were grateful for that moment, for that experience. Kind of getting the idea? Well, Constance is going to break us out, and Sally's doing a wonderful job of putting something in the chat there for the question. So Constance, you're going to have 8 minutes. So discuss with your wonderful partner, what was it like when gratitude arose, when you really felt that grateful feeling? And what was the feeling like? So Constance, if you'll break us out, please.
You? Oh, Beth joined us. Nice.
Ooh.
Christopher, you'll want to unmute. He brought you back muted.
Thank you, wonderful partner.
Yes,
Um,
thank you. That was a wonderful experience.
So, couple things, and I'd love to get some feedback from some of you. What was it like? First off, can you even describe the feeling of gratitude? Did you cause it willingly, or did it simply just arise? Who wants to speak to that first?
So if you want to turn on your camera and raise your hand to be recognized, or you can use the reaction button like this at the bottom and raise your hand like this.
I see Judith raising her hand.
There you go, Judith. Take it away, darling.
So it was simple. I was had a wonderful conversation with Reinhardt, and I wanted to find something grand. I couldn't immediately recall anything grand. And so something very simple came up, which is that when I stayed in the summertime with my sister back east, and she got up first before me, and she'd go downstairs, and then, and I'd get up and she'd yell up through this. There was a kind of a hole between the floors, and she would yell up and say, "Coffee's ready, Jude." And I just remember that was a feeling of warmth and gratitude, and it wasn't a big thing, but it was just very, very nice. So, but I've decided to go back to what Reinhardt has suggested about that we all used to do gratitude journals. And I want to find a way, because I think some things happen and they slip away because I'm not paying attention. So that is my setting my goal to pay attention.
Beautiful.
I'm sure there's more things happening than I realize. So thank you.
Well, thank you. You brought up that kind of the extraordinary within the ordinary. The simplest things. I think that's the real blessing, because we can all be grateful for the big things, but it's the small things. Those are the things that we tend not to see, that we miss. Those little bits of kindness. It's kind of like what Paul does around the social hall, making coffee and cleaning up and doing all of those little particles.
Yeah.
Is just as being awake to all of those small pieces.
Yeah.
So who else wants to share? You can just unmute yourself and begin speaking.
Well, I'll go ahead.
Well, yes.
So Freya and Jackie and I had a really nice conversation about gratitude in varying forms. We talked about that understanding, or that idea of being the living prayer, or being the living gratitude, just living in gratitude each step of the way. We too discussed journaling, gratitude journaling, and we talked about how gratitude is, when you're in gratitude, you're in a place of love and joy. You're in a place of peacefulness, and it's very rich. So being in that place of gratitude is just a beautiful gift, and recognizing all the things that we have in our life experience to be grateful for, because we're surrounded by them all the time. And we also talked about, how when we're not in that space, how wonderful it is to remember and recognize that we have so much to be grateful for, even when we have taxes to pay. Well, paying taxes means that we have made some good money, and we should be grateful for paying those taxes and things of that nature. So we just had a really nice conversation. Thank you for bringing this to the table for us, Christopher, this evening. The wonderful reminder.
Oh, thank you. I have a couple little things prepared right along those lines.
Okay.
Thank you for the taxes I paid because it means I'm employed. I'm grateful for my teenager who is not doing the dishes, but is watching TV because that means she's at home and not in the streets. And for the mess to clean up after a party because it means that I was surrounded by friends. Those are, that's when we look at that half empty, half full. How can we, how do we look at it? What is the story we continue to tell ourselves, and can we break that trance? Who wants to speak to what does gratitude feel like? When gratitude arises, when it strikes you. First off, right now, point to where you feel it in your body when gratitude arises. And where have you placed your hand? Yeah. So does anybody want to speak to try to describe what it feels like when gratitude arises? When you're struck by gratitude, because it's not necessarily a conscious thing. What do you say, Dennis? Unmute yourself. I want to hear.
No, I don't have a lot to say. I'm thinking about it. Some of these topics are interesting, but so new to me that I just don't have coherent thoughts at the moment.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
No, seriously. I mean, thank you for your honesty, really.
Sometimes I think, this is Karen. And
Yes.
you can't see me, I guess. Well, hi.
Hi.
There, okay. Sometimes it's to me, sometimes there are little miracles kind of that come around, and I go, wow, that's really great. Like I wouldn't have thought of it, or just something in it, but it's there, and it doesn't happen a lot of the time, but yes, little miracles following in your footsteps. That's an old expression that we used to use. So
There are surprises that I'm very grateful for. Like we have a couple of grandsons that were living together in Texas. One's still in Texas, and one now is living in Massachusetts. And when they were growing up, their parents each had some mental problems and weren't able to teach them the social graces. And we've received just very nice telephone calls from each of them within the last month. And I'm very grateful for that. They've realized that it's important for them to start reaching out more than they have in the past, and remember their kind and loving grandparents, which we have always been. So yes, I'm grateful for those surprises.
Nice. My hunch is as we receive someone's kindness, it uplifts us. And the person who is giving that kindness, it uplifts them also. So both are uplifted in this exchange, a sort of rotary exchange of love. So in our next exercise, we're going to explore that.
Has her hand up.
Reverend Sally has her hand up.
Oh, Sally. Hi. Yes.
Hey, Christopher. You asked the question about what does it feel like, that sense of gratitude. And when you were talking earlier, you mentioned being out in nature, and we take our dog for the walk every morning. And lately the sky, I'll set the picture because the skies have been brilliantly clear, blue, the fall colors are all around, and my favorite thing in the world are the crunchy leaves that are on the ground. And so I am totally in the moment of all of this brilliance of color and nature, and stomping purposely on these crunchy leaves, and the feeling of those crunchy leaves when I step on them, it's all, oh. So that's my feeling of gratitude.
Nice. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Christopher, I think Reinhard had something to share.
Oh,
too.
well, let's, Reinhard, please.
Yeah, I can talk to something about the sort of finding the gratitude in the everyday or things that we take for granted. I mean, sometimes it seems, at least to me, that something bad, quote unquote, needs to happen that, you know, I see that. I mean, in the morning when I wake up, I mean, I could be grateful every day just to be alive. And, you know, nothing hurts in my body and so on and so forth. And sometimes I am and sometimes I'm not. You know, if I have gone through an illness and I had a scratchy throat, let's say, for a few days, well, then on that day when it's gone, and I'm really grateful. Why do I have to wait for that, you know, to go through that sort of depression or illness or whatever? The example I mentioned when I was in the breakout group was, you know, the first, after I went through my divorce, you know, the first weekend that I spent with my son, it was just wonderful. And it, you know, why do we need to see those sort of opposites, you know, to really treasure this sort of normal, but the thing, the everyday, really. So
Wow.
that's a question that's in my head.
That's huge. That's really huge. Thank you for bringing that up. We might have to switch our breakout room just to chew on that one a little bit. There is some, this is kind of the story of the prodigal son too, where when your health returns, as the prodigal son returned, the father rejoiced. We rejoice when our health returns, when something is found that was lost. We didn't miss it while it was around because we didn't recognize it. We didn't recognize the health that has been given, the fact that we can see with our eyes. Now, all of a sudden you get something, and I get something in my eyes, or my eyes start to tear and there's something going on. All of a sudden, now I'm awake to it. Now it's on my field. And just like you were saying, Reinhard, that it's, how do we break the trance? How do we actually see the extraordinary within the ordinary that we take for granted? The ability to walk. I'll tell you, when I hurt my leg and couldn't walk, boy, did I appreciate walking afterwards. But what's happened now that I can appreciate walking, I can keep that and not take it for granted. I can take my eyesight not for granted. I'm going to get new glasses. I don't take my eyesight for granted. It's changing all the time. And as Dennis knows so very well, taking our eyesight for granted, what happens when it changes. And so, again, how do we keep fresh before us? What clues can we use to kind of slap us awake? Because the mind's not going to want to, this is not the mind's category. The mind is to keep us safe, not necessarily, cherish things. It's really designed to keep us safe. So it almost becomes a spiritual process, a practice where you're actually consciously, like a gratitude journal, consciously becoming aware of the blessings that we already have and are given all the time. Now, research tells us that when we do gratitude journals and when we in this kind of gratitude letters. In fact, the research is out. The gratitude letter that you write to somebody, whether you send it or not, is more powerful than a journal. Journaling, when they did studies with college kids and a big study that they did, they found it was incredibly powerful. It's just take a person perhaps you aren't particularly fond of, and to write down what you're grateful for about that person. It was amazingly transformative. So it's a muscle, and it's a muscle that is important to exercise. Perhaps I want to end on this on the story of this teacher, and she was teaching second grade. Actually, and this teacher happened to be Susan, my wife, and there was this little kid from Vietnam who came over, and she took him under her wing, and she would, like hold hands with him and take him out to the playground because he was kind of afraid, didn't know the language. Kids are, running around throwing balls, but he found his way. Well, 15 years later, somehow his dad finds Susan on the internet and writes her a letter about how important she was in his son's life, and how holding his hand made such a difference that he felt safe and seen. And I think that's the key here when we spread our kindness, is that we pass on safety and being seen. And so Susan was grateful for the letter that came. The father was grateful to Susan, and that was the sort of the full circle where so Susan's kindness affected the son, which affected the father, and it came full circle back to Susan. So it's amazing how just a little bit of kindness makes this full circle all the way around. And how when we feel that gratitude, that we feel it in our hearts. It's the language of the heart. And so the head's a really wonderful tool. And so is the heart. And to really fly, to truly fly in this life, we need the head and the heart in balance. And with that balance, we soar. So in conclusion for this evening, the power of gratitude is amazing because it can strike us at any time. It can bring us to our knees, and it brings us into prayer. It brings us into reverence for this life given with no strings attached. And it is ours to do with it what we shall, and what we can, and what we can aspire to. And so I leave you with that. Yes, and I pass it back to you, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. As always, lots to think about, lots to adopt in our lives, lots of governorship for us to navigate. So thank you so much, Mr. Brown. Let's show our appreciation if you can, folks, any way that works for you. Emojis or clapping. You can see everybody in gallery view. Thank you, Mr. Brown. So in that attitude of gratitude, let's talk about what's going on at the center. Because there's a lot going on for our good. So when you're ready, Miss Constance, we can start with the PowerPoint. And I see Peter has arrived, so welcome, Peter. It looks like you got your power back. So this Sunday, December 4th, Reverend Jerry Carter will be starting the December theme of community by speaking on longing to belong. Please join us in person with meditation at 10 a.m. and service at 10:30. We also stream our Sunday service live and directly to YouTube, and the link is on the homepage of our website if you choose to watch the service from home. Next Wednesday, December 7th, practitioner Chantal Rolfing will present her ideas on longing to belong. Meditation at 6:30 and service at 7. Our Wednesday night services will remain on Zoom, and Reverend Sally Bartholomew will be your new host for this service. Tune into the open forum this Friday, December 2nd at 6:30 by Zoom. This will be Reverend Sunshine's inaugural forum, so join in. Information in the Zoom link is on the events page. This coming Sunday, December 4th, join the Compassionate Attention to Loss group at 12:45 in the afternoon, right after service, for a supportive discussion of holiday grief. This group gathering will be in person and by Zoom. The Zoom link is at the Grief Support Group page on our website under the groups drop-down list. Then the following Friday, December 9th, let your inner elf come out to play. Join other crafty elves for a late afternoon, early evening gathering to create holiday decorations. Bring your own supplies or use what we have. The doors are open at 4 and we'll craft and play until 9 p.m. Come at the beginning or come in the middle. A love offering will be gratefully accepted. Our new senior minister, Reverend Sunshine Michelle Coleman, is now officially at the Oakland Center, and we welcome her. So let's give her a warm welcome by giving her a budget she can grow with. Pledge cards were mailed out earlier. So if you return your card or complete it online and join the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living Prosperity Galaxy, you'll see that our rocket is taking off. Make sure you're on board as we start climbing towards our goal. Once you have pledged, get your star from the check. I'm sorry. Let's start that again. Get your star from the check-in desk in the sanctuary foyer on Sunday and add it to the galaxy that is in the sanctuary. The more stars we have, the brighter our 2023 financial future will be. To fill in the online form, click the donate icon on the homepage of our website to be taken to the pledge campaign. Right now, we have 65 pledges and we're at $155,000. You are invited to a holiday party on Saturday, December 17th, starting at 3 p.m. Seating will be limited to keep everyone safe, and we're asking that everyone be vaccinated. So check the events page on our website so you can sign up for Crafty Elves, a holiday party, or for the open forum Zoom link. And always, for information on all that is going on at the Oakland Center, visit our website, explore it. Don't forget you can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And if you're not receiving it already, you can sign up for our weekly newsletter, The Village News, by clicking on the I'm New icon on the homepage, and you'll see the sign up area on that page. I think we have one more slide, Ms. Constance. Let's just take a moment in gratitude and focus on gratitude to all the folks that make this center work. I've been fortunate to be one of those folks. I'm grateful for everyone that's here tonight. I want to thank Constance and Sunshine. She's already working. We've done some things together, and Zoe and Susan and Dow, and of course the fabulous Dorothy Mendez is in the house tonight. These are just a few of the many people that you can find out more about at our oaklandcsl.org page. So let's be grateful for their work and what they do. So in this moment, let's take an idea of about an offering. What we bring to the center and what we give, whether it's time, treasure, or talent, hold that close to your chest and near your heart, and follow along as I read the offering affirmation. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies this offering. It blesses all that I am, all that I give, and all that I circulate. Thank you, love, as me. So release that gift, bring it right in these gates. It'll do good work and go right back out those gates and do great work out in the world. So I'm grateful for everyone that does donate. If you need to know, we have a donate button on our webpage, and you click on that. You can do it by credit card, or you can get the address to mail a check. You can use Zelle, or use the text telephone number that's there. And you can join us on Sunday at service, and you can definitely use the offering basket. It's always there. So I want to thank a couple of folks today for helping our service move along. I want to thank, of course, the fabulous Christopher Brown for speaking on gratitude and helping us focus on that. I want to thank Susan Urquhart Brown for doing the meditation, and Reverend Sally for doing our opening prayer tonight. I also want to recognize Reverend Jerry. Reverend Jerry, you've done so much to support me through this last couple of years on Wednesday nights. You have and adopted the format that Reverend Jeff wanted us to carry on, and I'm so grateful for your support. Dorothy, I see you down there. Thank you for everything that you do for me all the time. And by the way,
I just want to say, Paul, thank you. Thank you for all that you have brought to this community, to this center, and especially to this Wednesday night service. And coffee will not be the same, sweetheart, without you. I want you to know that, okay? And I want you to welcome our beloved Reverend Sally Bartholomew back home, who is going to be here to lead us on Wednesday nights. Don't give up. Come and listen to our beloved Reverend Sally, who has great things for us. And what I want you all to do in your prayer work is to see Paul Prosciutti as whole, perfect, and complete, right where he is. Make that part of your everyday prayer. But I just say thank you, Paul, for all the service that you have done to our community. And I say, welcome home, Reverend Sally Bartholomew. We love you, we support you, and we thank God for both of you. And I'm complete.
I agree. I agree. Thank you so much. We're so lucky, Sally. I can't tell you how fortunate. I'm grateful for all of you that show up consistently, have told your friends, different people come in and out. It's just been really fun to watch. I think the biggest trick of it all is the folks that are, we say behind the scenes, but they're really leading the way. I mean, if they can make me look halfway good and make me sound even kind of good, that's a huge accomplishment to be grateful for. So Peter has joined us from Portland. Peter, I see you got your power back on. I hope all is well at home. I want to thank you for your efforts and what you do. It's not even an effort, it's a mission. And you carry it out so beautifully to lead the AV team. So thank you, Peter. That team consists on Wednesday nights of Helene, she's every other Wednesday night, and the fabulous Alice, thank you so much. And Sabrina, bless your heart. You guys have just done a yeoman's job of taking care of Wednesday night service in this format, which will continue because the reach is broad. Wednesday night was never international when it was in the social hall. We are international. Canada, Mexico, Brazil, Ireland have all joined us that I can recall. So how fortunate we are to have this platform. That I am grateful for, Christopher Brown, is this opportunity in this new technology, new to some of us old folks, but so grateful for that. And I want to be real truthful that it was always a three-pronged process on Wednesday nights. Reverend Jerry, replacing Reverend Jeff, had the overall responsibility for whatever I did. So that's huge. And she sanctioned and allowed us to keep going in this format, as I've said earlier. And Constance, the administration, what she does beforehand, she's doing it tonight with PowerPoint. Her and Sally worked so hard to get us up on Zoom during the pandemic. The efforts and everything, I just can never thank them enough. Constance, you're just the jewel of the center. They have no idea how fabulous you are. I do though, and I'm very, very grateful for you. A shout out to Zoe, who always emotionally supported me through this process. So thank you, Reinhard and Dr. Judith and Freya, Eileen, for being here tonight. I see Grady down there. I want to recognize you. So, and of course, my Wednesday nights are not complete without Dennis and Karen up on screen. Always here early. My biggest fan, so thank you. So with that, we're ready to close. I want to thank you all 1,000 times over. Sally, you're going to do great. Reverend Sunshine, I know you're going to watch this. She did tell me, I saw her today. She had another engagement. She's still wrapping up stuff, but she really wanted to be here tonight. And I said, you'll watch it on YouTube. It'll be there. So, but it's important that she is sticking her feet in the water and reached out to me today. So thank you so much, Reverend Sunshine. With that, Christopher Brown, if you would come forward and close us out in prayer the way we started, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. And I'm going to say something for all of us as we all thank you, Paul, for your devotion to keeping Wednesday not only vibrant and exciting, but topical and fresh and witty and all of what you do, not only for Wednesday night, but for everything you have continually done for over almost 12 years, probably 12 years now.
Yeah. You
have been an amazing pillar, absolute foundational pillar and for the success and the continued success, and the foundation that you have laid is monumental. As you can see, you're standing in your monuments right behind you. Your hand has touched so many things. So we
can't miss it on Clarewood Drive. That's
no. So we all want to thank you. We sincerely want to thank you for, again, your devotion to the community, to the village, to the facility, to life, all of that. And with that, let's all take a breath. As we simply drop into the silence that is always present, always available, always receptive, as we simply rest in this silence and give thanks not only for the silence, but for this moment, for this very life, this life that lives us in such amazing and mysterious ways. This life, we are humbled before it as we recognize its presence. And we claim this presence not as our lives, but as our very being. It's more, it's inseparable, and we can't even speak about it in any separate form, for we are it. And gratitude reminds us of this amazing life that we have the privilege of living, the absolute privilege. And so we are so blessed to be together, to share in the mystery, to share in our journeys together, to share on our amazing research we do on life as it is living us. And so we're grateful for that. We're grateful for Paul, for Reverend Sunshine, for Reverend Jerry, and for Reverend Sally, who is stepping in, and so many more things. And so in conclusion, I want to again say let us keep fresh before us these moments of intuitive grandeur, of times when we have melted into the moment, these beautiful times of love that have so blessed our hearts. With this, and for so much more, we stand in gratitude and we release all of this by saying, and so it is.
And
Amen.
so it is.